In September 2016, a distress call came from a small boat named the Chicken Pox about 100 miles off the coast of Rhode Island. The caller was 22-year-old Nathan Carman. He claimed the boat was taking on water and sinking fast. With him was his 54-year-old mother, Linda Carman. The call was cut short, and a massive search began. 8 days later, a freighter spotted a life raft adrift in the Atlantic. Inside was Nathan Carman, alive but alone. His mother was gone, presumed lost at sea. Nathan told the Coast Guard that he heard a strange noise from the engine room, and when he went to check, the boat was filling with water. He said he saw his mother in the cockpit, getting her life jackets and emergency supplies, but when he resurfaced after the boat went down, she was nowhere to be found. This incident, tragic as it was, wasn't the first time the Carman family had faced a devastating loss. Just 3 years earlier, in 2013, another family member had vanished. Nathan's grandfather, 87-year-old John Chakalos, a wealthy real estate developer, was found dead in his home in Windsor, Connecticut. He had been shot multiple times. The murder weapon was never found. At the time, Nathan was the last person known to have seen his grandfather alive. He had dinner with him the night he was killed. Nathan quickly became a person of interest in the investigation. He had purchased a rifle that was the same caliber as the one used in the murder, but he claimed it had gone missing. With no murder weapon and little direct evidence, no charges were ever filed. So when Nathan was rescued from the sea, alive, while his mother was lost, suspicions immediately flared up again. Was this just a tragic series of coincidences, or was something far more sinister at play? The authorities and the remaining family members certainly thought so. They started digging deeper into Nathan's past and the circumstances surrounding both incidents. What they uncovered painted a picture of a deeply troubled young man and a family torn apart by greed and suspicion. Let's go back to the boat, the Chicken Pox. Investigators discovered that just before the fateful trip, Nathan had made some modifications to the boat. He had removed the stabilizing trim tabs from the stern, just above the waterline, and patched the holes with an epoxy putty. Experts argued that this repair was shoddy and could have easily failed under the pressure of the open ocean, causing the boat to take on water rapidly, just as Nathan had described. Was this a deliberate act of sabotage? An insurance company thought so. They refused to pay out the $85,000 policy on the boat, accusing Nathan of intentionally sinking it. The ensuing civil trial brought many of the family's secrets to light. During the trial, it was revealed that Nathan had a history of behavioral issues. He was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome as a child, and according to his aunts, he had struggled with social interactions and had episodes of intense anger. They believed Nathan was motivated by money. His grandfather, John Chakalos, had left a massive estate worth over $40 million. This fortune was meant to go to his four daughters, including Nathan's mother, Linda. If Linda were to die, her share would pass directly to Nathan. So here's the theory that his aunts, the plaintiffs in a separate lawsuit, put forward Nathan murdered his grandfather to get his hands on the inheritance early. When that didn't immediately result in a payout, he then orchestrated his mother's death at sea to inherit a portion of the estate. They filed what's known as a Slayer Rule lawsuit, arguing that Nathan should be barred from inheriting any family money because he was responsible for the deaths of his grandfather and mother. Nathan, for his part, vehemently denied everything. He maintained his innocence throughout all the legal battles. He portrayed himself as a loving son and grandson who was the victim of terrible, unlucky accidents. He claimed his relationship with his mother and grandfather was good. He insisted the boating trip was just a normal mother-son outing to go to fishing, and the sinking was a tragic accident. Regarding his grandfather's murder, he stuck to his story. He had dinner with him, left, and had no idea what happened afterward. He argued that his aunts were just greedy and trying to cut him out of his rightful inheritance. The legal battles were incredibly complex and drawn out. The insurance company's case against Nathan for sinking the boat was a civil matter, meaning the burden of proof was lower than in a criminal case. The judge ultimately sided with the insurance company, ruling that Nathan had indeed made improper repairs that caused the boat to sink, and that he had failed to prove it was an accident. This was a major blow to Nathan's credibility, but it wasn't a criminal conviction for murder. The Slayer Rule lawsuit brought by his aunts was even more dramatic. It delved into every aspect of Nathan's life, his mental health, his financial motives, and his actions surrounding both deaths. His aunts testified about his supposed violent outbursts and his obsession with money and weapons. They painted him as a cold, calculating individual capable of committing horrific acts for financial gain. But again, the evidence was largely circumstantial. There was no smoking gun, no confession, no direct proof linking him to either death. Nathan continued to represent himself in court, often appearing awkward and unemotional, which didn't help his public perception. Then, just as it seemed the legal saga might drag on forever, the story took another shocking turn. In May 2022, nearly 9 years after his grandfather's death and 6 years after his mother's disappearance, federal prosecutors finally brought criminal charges against Nathan Carman. The 8-count indictment was stunning. It charged him with murder on the high seas in relation to his mother's death, and with multiple counts of fraud related to the inheritance and insurance claims. The indictment laid out the prosecution's entire theory that Nathan had a long-running scheme to obtain his family's money. It started with the murder of his grandfather and culminated in the murder of his mother. The federal indictment was a game-changer. It meant that Nathan would finally face a criminal trial for murder, where the stakes were infinitely higher. The prosecutors believed they had enough evidence to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. They planned to present evidence about the rifle he purchased, the suspicious modifications to the boat, and his financial motives. The trial was set to be one of the most sensational cases in recent memory. The public was captivated by this story of a wealthy family, a trail of death, and a young man at the center of it all. Was he a cold-blooded killer or a tragically misunderstood and unlucky individual? A jury would finally get to decide. But the world would never get to hear the full story in court. In June 2023, just weeks before his trial was scheduled to begin, Nathan Carman was found dead in his jail cell. He had died by suicide. He was 29 years old. His death brought an abrupt and somber end to the long and winding case. It left so many questions unanswered. With his death, the criminal charges were dismissed. The civil lawsuits were effectively rendered moot. There would be no verdict, no final judgment, no legal confirmation of his guilt or innocence. The tragic story of the Carman family deaths leaves us with a haunting legacy. Two people are dead, a third has taken his own life, and a family is forever broken. The aunts who fought for years to see Nathan held accountable were left without the justice they sought. We are left only with theories and suspicions. Did Nathan Carman get away with murder only to deliver his own form of justice in the end? Or was he an innocent man, hounded by suspicion and tragedy until he could no longer bear it? We will likely never know the definitive truth. The secrets of what happened on that boat and in that house died with Nathan Carman, leaving a lingering, chilling mystery. If you or someone you know is going through a tough time, please remember that help is available. You can reach out to the National Suicide Prevention, Lifeline, or other mental health resources in your area. You are not alone. Thanks for watching.